So I just got back from watching the Minecraft movie with my nephew and his little cousin, and I figured why not just make a video talking about it. It's probably not going to be a super long video. I don't think I have nearly as much to say about the Minecraft movie as I did, Sonic 3 or any of the other movies or shows that we've talked about on this channel. Yes, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to give my raw, honest thoughts about it, and I'm not trying to start like a flame war or just be what do you call it? Like just one of those YouTubers that's just kind of for clickbait purposes, just like put out just a big hate piece, basically just bashing something and over exaggerating their criticism for for the clicks or whatever. But I just gotta be completely honest, no exaggeration. This may have been the worst movie I've ever seen. I hated it. I did not enjoy the Minecraft movie, and there's very little about it that I found particularly redeeming. I went into this, knowing. I mean, like you kind of know from the previews that like, okay, this movie's not going to be a masterpiece or anything, but like I went into it expecting it's probably going to be a fun time. It's going to be kind of stupid, but that can be fun. There's some movies that it's like that's so bad it's good, and so that's kind of what I was expecting from this movie. I'm not really a big Minecraft person, to be completely honest with you. I bought Minecraft when it first came to Switch back in like 2017. I'd never played it before that, and I might have sunk like I don't know 40 hours into it, but pretty much all of that was just messing around in creative mode, just building stuff, and it was all right. It was kind of fun, I guess. I never really bothered with like the adventure mode or whatever it's called, where you're dealing with like creepers and you're having to manage your resources and all that stuff, and slaying Enderman or whatever, Endermans, and taking on the Ender Dragon in the Nether realms or whatever. I just maybe it'd be fun if I had like a squad of people to have done that with, but I only really just played it by myself. And as a single player experience, nah, I wasn't feeling it. So Minecraft never really hooked me like it did a lot of other people. But I kind of thought going into the movie, if anything, that might make my experience more enjoyable, because it's like, yeah, I might not get some of the references and stuff, but I don't really have any expectations. If the movie's not good, then it's not like I'm going to feel personally offended as a big fan of Minecraft. Like, how could they ruin this source material that I love because I don't love it. So yeah, but watching the movie, it really, to me, it wasn't one of those so bad it's good movies. It was just so bad it's bad. Like there were so many jokes that just, it felt like every minute they were just trying to crank out just joke after joke, but none of them landed. Like there might have been maybe I think there were like two times in the entire movie where I kind of thought that's a little bit funny. One of them I don't even remember, so whatever it was, it didn't leave that much of an impact on me. And then the other one, let me turn my mic down a little bit just so that way the audio is not peeking out. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. But the other one was kind of toward the end of the movie. I guess it's a little spoilery, so I'll maybe save that. I don't know how much people care about Minecraft spoilers, but this video will contain spoilers, so keep that in mind as we progress, and I'll give a little warning as we're about to talk about the more spoilery stuff. But yeah, this movie just felt it was very poorly written. It felt like, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was the case, it felt like they knew, like, going into it, all right, we've secured this deal with Mojang, to make this Minecraft movie. We know it's going to sell no matter what. We're going to gross like, hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office, probably just by virtue of the fact that it's Minecraft. So let's just churn this movie out as quickly as possible. We don't need to overthink it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this entire script of this movie was written over like one weekend. Genuinely, like it feels so thrown together. Like they're just like, screw it. That's good enough. A lot of movie scripts, they'll be laboring over it. They'll be passing ideas back and forth in the writer's room and working for, months, maybe even a year or multiple years to get the script just right. But yeah, this feels like it was thrown together in like a couple days, you know. And yeah, there's some movies where it's like you talk about like I don't drink myself, and I don't condone drinking. This is a family channel. But you know, there's some movies I know people will talk about like it's fun to like watch with your buddies, and you drinking, and then you're just laughing the whole way through because of how stupid this movie is. But I feel like if you watch this movie while being intoxicated, it would just everybody would just feel like how there's like those drunks that just like get really emotional, and they're just like they get real sad and depressed and like cry a lot when they're drunk. That's what I feel like the experience would be, just a bunch of sad drunk people. If they got drunk and watched this, it wouldn't elevate the experience any. But yeah, like every joke, it just felt so like cringe. Like that's such an overused word. I hate to even like say it because it's like, oh, he says the Minecraft movie is cringe. Like that's how what an original thought. But genuinely, I mean physically, I was almost kind of wincing in my seat with every joke, just like God, uh, it just feels so juvenile, and I don't know. It's almost the kind of humor. It feels like this movie came out like 20 years too late. I think about like the early 2000s movies, like 2005 ish, kind of that timeline when you had stuff like Napoleon Dynamite, where it's just in some ways it feels like that sort of sense of humor. Obviously, Minecraft didn't exist back then, but some of that early internet, you know, kind of humor is kind of what it felt like. Um, it just, I don't know. And Napoleon Dynamite, I know that's kind of a cult classic for a lot of people. I think it's one of those movies you kind of had to have been there. Like, I feel like if you show that movie to someone in the year 2025 for the first time, I don't know that that's really going to resonate with them, because it just feels kind of dated by now. So this movie, it feels dated despite the fact that it just came out. And like, I'm not the biggest fan of Napoleon Dynamite myself. Um, I had an ex girlfriend who really loved it. But most of the time, it just feels so awkward and like forced, and I don't know. But Napoleon Dynamite, it has its moments though. I can't say that there's never a time in that movie that isn't memorable or funny, because it does have moments that I do think are kind of funny. It does have its memorable, iconic moments, but the Minecraft movie just didn't have that. Every joke just felt so forced and so hacky, and um, and the characters weren't particularly likable or had any depth or real growth to them. So you've got Steve, of course, who's played by Jack Black, and they spend a exorbitant amount of time in this movie giving exposition. You kind of people laugh at the trailer where it's like saying I as a child I yearned for the mines or whatever. But that monologue goes on for probably like I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 minutes, maybe longer than that, of just Jack Black just narrating everything that's happening. And it's like, good lord, so much exposition. I just took an online script writing class, and a big thing that's emphasized in that class is how snappy you want the exposition to be. Like maybe 1-2 minutes, of kind of setting the scene, but most of the uh, story is supposed to be told. Most of the exposition is supposed to come through from your dialogue and not a narrator telling you what's happening. But this movie does a really poor job at that. You are just constantly being told what's happening and never just like witnessing. Because they say, show, don't tell. This movie does way more telling than showing. And some of this, you might watch this video, then just be like, bro, it's the Minecraft movie. Don't take it so seriously. Don't analyze it like a work of art. It's, what you're getting into when you go see the movie. And like to an extent, I'm like, yeah, but I thought I knew what I was getting when I was going in, but it was lower than my expectations could have possibly been. So I hate to say that because like genuinely or generally when I go see a movie in theaters, um, I enjoy the experience even if it's not a great movie. I just like getting out and I've got my popcorn and I'm watching it on just the big screen, and you got the surround sound and stuff. It's a ambient experience. It's fun. It's not something that I do super regularly. Go out to the cinema, so whenever I do, it's kind of a treat. Even if the movie's bad, I still just enjoy the act of going and seeing a movie in theaters. It's there's something endearing about it, and I'm kind of glad that in a post-COVID world, cinema still exists and that we can go out and do that. And that it's not everything's just coming direct to streaming. But with that said, I did not particularly enjoy the cinema experience this time. This is probably the only movie that I can think of that I've ever gone to and actively kept thinking to myself, man, I am ready to go. I cannot wait to get out of this theater because I am not having a good time. And again, I hate to say that because like I really like even though I don't care about Minecraft, I like Jack Black. Um, don't know that he was the best choice for this role. I was very excited when it first came out that he was going to be the voice of Bowser in the Mario movie. It's just like, yeah, that's a great fit. Jack Black would make a fantastic Bowser, and he nailed it. He did really good. And I felt that way from like I felt very confident from the moment they said Jack Black is Bowser. I was like, hey, yeah, that's a good casting choice. But from the moment they said Jack Black would be Steve, I was like, no, that's not a good casting choice because like I really like Jack Black's work. I love the Kung Fu Panda movies, um, but like he doesn't need to be in everything. I kind of hate when these actors get typecast where it's like this big name actor. It's like, oh, we have to cast them as the leading role in everything, like Chris Pratt or Dwayne Johnson or whoever else, because they're pretty much always just being themselves. They're always playing that same archetype of a character, and it can work, but it's like sometimes they get cast in these roles where it's like it really didn't need to be them. And Steve's kind of a blank slate, so it's like, who do you even cast as Steve? I don't know. But I don't know that Jack Black was it. I mean, Steve in the games, he's not like an old guy with graying hair, and a long beard. No offense to Jack Black. We all got to get old at some point. But probably a younger actor would have been better for, going with a more authentic Steve. But yeah, like I said, none of the characters in this were particularly likable. Like that's pretty bad to make a movie that like two of the main characters are these like orphaned children, and I felt nothing for them throughout the whole movie. Usually that's a pretty like low hanging fruit. Like if you have two kids and their mother is dead. They don't mention the father. I'm assuming he's either dead or he's a deadbeat. I don't know what. And so the older sister has to step up to the plate and kind of take on this like motherly role while also being the sister. And it's really hard on her. And you should be able to empathize with that. But I don't care, man, because the acting is so hokey. And I don't feel like these are bad actors necessarily. I mean, Jack Black's a really good actor, but a lot of his lines felt forced. And like the girl who played like the big sister who's like raising her little brother, she seemed like she had the chops for a good actor, but it was like I think it was just the acting direction, like whoever was directing it. Just so much of the acting just felt so over the top and so needlessly dramatic even during kind of mundane scenes, and it felt very unbelievable and kind of pulled me out of the experience. um, but yeah, and then like really that was a problem with all the characters in this movie. It was like they wanted to have these dramatic moments, but it was like I can't take this seriously as an audience member because the movie's not taking it seriously. Like you find out these kids, their mom died, and it's like she left behind this little like memorabilia, I guess. It's like, from mom, and it's like this weird like ceramic pig thingy that looks really cursed. It's like really uncanny, and it's like am I supposed to like feel something about this, that the dead mom left the daughter this like demonic looking Satan pig? Like I don't know. So the sister, she takes this job as like I guess a social media manager for a potato factory or something, and so they've like moved to this new town. There's this lady. She's the realtor, and she ends up being one of the main characters. Um, I didn't fully understand like because like they don't really explain how the mom died or like what. So I don't know if she knew she was sick or what, but some way I guess before she died, she secured this house for the kids to live in, but they were gonna have to like move. So it's like, well, why don't? Where were they living before? Why did you have to get a separate house? I don't know. That wasn't clear. I didn't understand that. Uh, and so the realtor lady, she's nice and gives her condolences when they get there about their mom dying. And she has like I really didn't understand. Like, so she's a realtor, but she also has like a farm of like alpacas or llamas or something. I don't know. Then whenever she gets sucked into the Minecraft world, I don't know who's left to take care of them. So I guess those animals all just died of malnourishment. I don't know. Maybe they weren't gone for all that long. But it was just weird. It was just very nonsensical. Nothing made sense in the movie, like whatsoever. When they all meet Steve in the Minecraft world, and he's explaining how things work around here, and he's talking about the villagers, and he's like, the villagers, they're vegetarians, they don't eat meat, and then literally probably like 60 seconds later, he's like, and over here we have a villager running this fried chicken restaurant. It's like, I thought you said they don't eat meat. Why is there a fried chicken? Like, there's no consistency in the script to the point where like a minute later they're already retconning something they just established. Like it just I don't know. And again, it's the Minecraft movie. Just I know I should just sit back and just enjoy the ride, but I really tried, man. I really tried to just turn off the analytical side of my brain and just roll with the punches. But man, those punches just kept punching me right in the face with mediocrity. So yeah, I talked about you got Steve. Then you've also got the older sister and her younger brother that get sucked in that world, and the realtor lady. So I guess the only one I've not talked about. There's this guy who is kind of a sort of a Billy Mitchell caricature. He's got this mullet, and hey, if you don't know Billy Mitchell, he's this guy who was like a professional arcade game player back in like the early 80s, and he set like a world record in like the original Donkey Kong arcade game and like Pac-Man and stuff. But a lot of people have accused him of cheating, and he's generally just kind of viewed as like a very unlikable you know arrogant person. And so they kind of have this character who's sort of a trope on that sort of a Billy Mitchell type character, where he's was this big deal back in the 1980s. He was like the world champion at this like fictional arcade game. I forget exactly what they call it. But now he's kind of all washed up. That was kind of like his one thing. So he peaked like back in the 80s, and since then his life's just been kind of on a downward spiral. And he's like getting evicted from his home, and he's kind of like running this video game store, but it's not really working out too well for him. One thing I did kind of like about the movie, though, in that video game store, there's kind of some fun references to various retro games over the years. Like he has a little like Rob the Robot, which was like this NES peripheral back when the Nintendo Entertainment System launched in the States back in like 1985. So that was kind of fun. And then you can see in the background he's got like a copy of like I Saw Frogger and Miss Pac-Man and some other various old games back there. So that was kind of cool. I like that little Easter egg. You can kind of spot some vintage games back there. One other thing I'll say that I did like about the movie, these are kind of the only two things that I really liked about it. Everybody was kind of, talking in the trailers, when the trailers came out for this movie about just how like uncanny the CG is in terms of the, the monsters and like the villagers and stuff. And yeah, that's definitely the case. But to give credit where credit is due, not all the CG sucks. And I genuinely think that the backgrounds were very pleasant to look at aesthetically. I think they did a very good job capturing just like the blocky terrain, but with realistic textures and stuff. Where like it was nice. I liked looking at the vistas, the backgrounds in the distance. Those were pleasant. The scenery was really good, I thought. And yeah, the character models not so much. The CG does look pretty bad, or at least unsettling on the evil pig dudes and the wizards and the villagers. I don't know how I got wizards out of that. Um, and the Enderman and the creepers and all that and the zombies. It looks kind of pretty off and weird. But the environments themselves really nice. Speaking of environments, though, it never really clicked with me until like the main villain had a line of dialogue where she says something like, I traveled 2 biomes to find you. Um, but they're only in like the grassland biome throughout the whole movie. You can kind of see some like snowy mountains off into the background, but that's really it. You don't really even see like a desert environment or like any of the other environments that are in Minecraft. So I feel like that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. They could have maybe done something a little bit more there. It's literally they're only ever in the they call it the overworld, but just the really just the grassland portion of that. And then Jack Black at like toward the start of the movie, he's in the like the netherworld or whatever. Um, but that's really about it. I kind of thought that the main like the climax of the movie would take place in the netherworld, but no, it's just kind of in the overworld. So yeah, I think they could have done something more there. Maybe they're kind of leaving the door open for sequels. I wouldn't be surprised if they greenlight a sequel very soon. Because I think, as I understand it, this movie's doing really well, which on one hand kind of irks me because it's like, well, this movie kind of sucked that it's just doing well because it has Minecraft in the name. But on the other hand, it's like, well, I can't be a hypocrite about it. I mean, I was morbidly curious and I wanted to see the movie, so I'm part of the problem. That said, I don't think I'll show up for a sequel unless there's a lot of demand for me to do it on this YouTube channel. I don't really have an interest in it. I thought the first one could be fun, but I didn't really have fun with it. Um, but yeah, so getting into spoilers a little bit. So the main villain is like I don't know if this is a thing in the games because again I don't really play Minecraft, but it's like this pig lady who they give this really stupid backstory. It's like all the character motivations from the heroes to the villains is just so just stupid. Like she became evil because like she always wanted to be a dancer, but nobody believed in her dreams. So she decided right then and there because like everybody like laughed at her at like the annual Netherworld talent show. I think they might have called it like Netherworld's Got Talent. I just remembered another stupid thing that I want to get to here in a minute. But and like her dad, I guess, didn't support her dreams either. And it's like, when will you realize that you just have to? Our lives are just to toil away mining. Stop wasting your time with dancing. So she vows then and there that uh, she'll destroy all creativity because creativity causes nothing but suffering and pain. So that's her motivation. And so she wants this cube thingy, this orb that they keep making the joke that it's an orb, even though it's cube shaped, and harness its power to make it permanently nighttime in the overworld because that's when all the monsters and the creepers and the zombies and the spiders and the skeletons come out, and take over the world and destroy all of the freedom, or the creativity, rather, all the unique architecture and whatever that Steve and the villagers and everybody builds. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the main conflict is that character. I was really surprised, and again, that might be where they're like saving it for a sequel. Again, I don't know that much about Minecraft, but isn't like the final boss or whatever like the Ender Dragon? Isn't that a thing? Um, that was nowhere to be seen. There was not even a passing reference of it, which kind of shocked me. I thought that pig lady was maybe going to evoke uh, the Ender Dragon or whatever, but that never happened. So okay, again, they really didn't spend any time in the Netherworld, so maybe that's going to be the next movie. They're in the Netherworld and they gotta, there's the Ender Dragon. They gotta kill it. I don't know. Though maybe there won't be another movie because again, another spoiler. Something that I will, I guess, give the movie a little bit of credit for, not a lot, but the way it ended, did kind of subvert my expectations because they kind of, I thought I knew where it was going because like they kind of set up like the kid in particular, the younger brother, he's kind of an outcast at school. He doesn't really have a lot of friends, and they don't believe in his creative aspirations. He kind of gets bullied on his first day or whatever because again they moved to this new town, so I really kind of thought they were going to end the movie where it's like all the people there who were kind of rejects in the natural world were all going to just live there with Steve and just create to their heart's content in the Minecraft world. But they did kind of subvert my expectations where they all actually do go back home and decide that no, they're going to use their, what makes them unique to create stuff in the real world. And even if there's people that won't accept them for that, that's just what they want to do, as opposed to staying there in that fantasy world, even though I guess it really exists in the context of the movie. But, it's that world's kind of just an escape. But they all, including Steve, which really shocked me, decided, no, we're going to go back to the regular world and create stuff there instead. So, I'll give a little bit of credit for that. I really thought they were all going to stay there in Minecraft land because I think, for one thing, just as a soulless corporate product, it would have made sense to just kind of emphasize, like, hey, the real world sucks, but here in Minecraft land, you can be anything you want to be and do anything that you want to do. So, make sure you're shelling out all your money on more, DLC packs for Minecraft because this, make sure you're sinking 1,000 more hours a year into this game because this is way better than real life. But no, the movie doesn't do that. The movie's like, no, real life is important too, and don't let the world of Minecraft completely consume you. So I can respect that, that they didn't just try to make it a, that the overlying message of the movie wasn't, drink more Ovaltine. It was, it's okay to put down the Ovaltine every once in a while. Of course, in this case, Ovaltine being Minecraft. We've already talked almost 30 minutes here, so I guess I did have more to say about this movie than I thought. Another thing that made me really cringe is there's legitimately a character in this movie that's like one of the evil pigs that's named Chungus. There's like the big Chungus meme of like Bugs Bunny from that old like 1940s short or whatever. Yeah, there's just a character named Chungus, and like the school that they go to, I forget the name of it. But it was very close to Chungus. It was like, I don't know. It was almost like the word Chungus mixed with like a person's name. Maybe I can Google it real quick, like Minecraft movie school, and see if I can find the name. Minecraft movie school. Chugless High School. Yeah, so it's Douglas, but then combined with Chungus, I guess, or Chugless High School. Like, this movie, it was just all over the place, man. It was just, within like the first 5 minutes, it was like, oh, this is this kind of movie. This is like, I thought to myself, this is like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy levels of random absurdity. But whereas that's actually got some like funny moments to it, it's like, no, this just isn't landing. Like they show that part, like that was in the trailer, that was, where he's like, ever since I was a kid, I yearned for the mines. And then there's just like that grumpy, like old, scary looking guy with the big beard, the prospector, who's like, get out of here, kid. And then it flashes forward to, Jack Black, Steve is like an old graying man. And like he's working this business job. And he's like, but then one day I remembered those mines, so I quit my business job. And then there at the mine shaft is that same old guy who looks exactly the same, despite the fact that Steve is aged like 50, 60 years. So that was right away. It was like, okay, this movie is just going to be just complete nonsense. And yeah, like, in the context of the video game, it makes more sense where, like, the time of day, it's maybe like a 20-minute cycle or so that you go through. That's kind of how Breath of the Wild is. I think like every minute is the equivalent of like an hour, So 24 minutes of playing Breath of the Wild, you've gone through a whole day night cycle. Because it's a video game, you got to put it down at some point, and so they kind of have to do that. But I've never really thought playing a Zelda game that, like, oh, in this universe, time is only a fraction, like a day is only a fraction as long as it is in the real world. But no, this movie leans into that. When you go into the world of Minecraft, then like every day really is just like 20 minutes, which just doesn't make sense, and it's weird. And so if I were Steve living there for however long he is, then like, his Arcadian rhythms or whatever you call it, his internal clock must be all kinds of jacked up. Because, the sun will be out and then 20 minutes later it's the moon and then it just keeps alternating. But yeah, they established that like, yeah, every 20 minutes the moon comes out and then that's when the creepers come out. But like, even within the movie, I don't know how long this movie was, 90 minutes, I guess, is kind of your standard movie length, so maybe somewhere around that. But, even then, it only really turns nighttime like once. Once during the exposition with like Jack Black and stuff, and when he first got there and figured out the zombies come out when it's nighttime. But then once like all the other people from the real world come there, yeah, it's only nighttime like once. So it was like, okay, so you've established that it's supposed to be night every 20 minutes, but then 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes pass in the movie and it's still daytime. They still only had that nighttime that one time. It's like the movie establishes these rules and then doesn't play by any of them. And it really, makes it hard for me to suspend my disbelief, because it's like you're not being consistent with the world that you're setting up here. And yeah, so just a lot of the writing, it just felt so hokey, like Jack Black and then the kind of Billy Mitchell type character. I don't remember any of these characters' names, by the way, except for Steve and Chungus. So, that's not good. But yeah, Steve and then the long haired, mullet guy, video gamer dude. They're always kind of butting heads early on, and like he's trying to outdo him or whatever. But by the end of the movie, it's like, oh, they're best friends now. It's like they're so, tight. But it's like they didn't bond. They didn't really have any moment of growth. It just, it's just like, you're a true friend. You really came through for us. And it's like, no, he didn't. So again, it's like, it's so hard to get emotionally invested in any of these characters, because you just don't. It's like there's no growth, but it's just like, we're going to pretend at the end of the movie, like, look how far we've come, look how much we've developed as people and matured. But it's like, no, that didn't really happen. So I don't know. Like, I do kind of feel like maybe I would have enjoyed it more if I was more familiar with Minecraft and could appreciate all the little Easter eggs and references. I guess one aspect of the movie I haven't talked about is just kind of, they have this whole kind of, I hesitate to even call it a B plot, because it's really not even a plot. It's just kind of there for the sake of being there. You saw in the trailers, and I thought it would be a little bit more integral to the story. But so there's this woman, this like principal of the school that the kid goes to, and I thought she was going to go into the Minecraft world with them, but that's not what happens. She stays in the regular human world. But one of the villagers wanders through the portal and escapes into the real world. And she runs over him with the car, and that's when she's like, oh my God, your face, it's huge. And then they, like, every now and then, maybe every like 20 or so minutes in the movie, they'll kind of just cut to, again, the B plot, which I can't even call it that in the real world, where her and that villager are like out on a date. Like she took him out to dinner to hopefully keep him from suing, and then they really bond and they fall in love because she's like recently divorced and all this stuff. And so she's telling him all about how just like I'm really connecting with you. My ex, we divorced because he just didn't have personality and blah blah blah, and he's just over there and then he'll kind of, and it's like that's the joke every time that it cuts to them. She'll say something for a minute or two being flirtatious, and then it'll cut to him and he just kind of raises his eyebrows, and then they do that like a few different times throughout the movie, and it's like that doesn't amount to anything. I thought maybe at some point that would tie back into the main plot, but it doesn't. It's just this completely separate direction they decided to veer off, where it's like occasionally we're going to cut to this weird love story between this lady and the villager, and it's not going to amount to anything worthwhile. So I don't really know what the point of that was. If you're going to do it, at least figure out a way to tie it back into the main like narrative. But yeah, like I said, there was only maybe a couple of minutes that I thought were somewhat funny, and at no point did I actually laugh in the movie. I don't even know if the movie once made me go like, because usually that's the best you're going to get out of me. I'm not going to like bust a gut. If something's really funny, I'm probably just going to be like, and that's about it. But I don't think I even did that once throughout the movie. But two things that were a little bit funny, again, spoilers. Once the main villain pig lady is defeated, she's kind of laying there. She's wounded. Jack Black, Steve spares her, and she's kind of saying, wait, come here. I need to tell you something. And Jack's like, you're not going to pull out a knife and try to stab me, are you? And she's like, no, of course not. And then he, comes over to her, and then she pulls out a knife, and then he just knocks it out of her hand, and she's like, well, it was worth a shot. And then she goes back to laying there wounded. But then she's like, no, really, I actually do have something to tell you. And he's like, man, fool me once. And he's like, no, this is important. This is about you. You really need to hear this. And then, so he's like, I need you to like come closer, hunker down. And he does. And then she gets another knife out, and he knocks it out of so that was kind of funny. They milk it a little too long, because then she goes to try to trick him and pull a knife a third time. And it's like, all right, you're beating a dead horse a little bit. But that was kind of a little funny. And then they kind of had this one part where, see, the boy character, he's kind of been idolizing this, washed up video game player mullet guy, and sort of viewing that guy as sort of a mentor role, kind of a father figure sort of thing. And there's this one point where, again, it's like it's supposed to be emotional and dramatic, but it's like, I don't care. Where they're having a heart-to-heart, and where the kid's like feeling hurt. He's like, I trusted you. How could you, put our whole mission in danger? We need to reunite with my sister because I got separated at one point, and like you were being selfish and, wanted to get the diamonds out of the diamond mine. Why did you have to do that? I can't believe you would betray me like this. And the acting is so hokey. It's like I don't believe what the characters are saying, and that boy who's acting this scene out doesn't even believe it. It feels like they did all of the acting in like one take, and we're like, yeah, that's good enough. And then the guy, same thing, just very hokey, overacting that I'm not buying at all. It's not believable. Where he's saying, you don't understand. I'm washed up, okay? I'm a has-been. I'm broke. I'm dirt poor. I'm about to get evicted. I need this. I need these diamonds because I've lost everything. I'm nothing. And so he goes into this, kind of heart to heart, which again, it's not really that emotional at all, but that got I found that a little bit funny, kind of like after he goes into this big long thing, then Jack's just kind of like, sorry about your financial troubles. So that was a little funny, but other than those couple jokes, there wasn't really anything that particularly resonated with me. The movie wasn't, filled with a bunch of like pop songs or anything. There might have been one I think maybe I really wasn't even sure what song it was. I wasn't familiar with it. Or maybe it was a song made originally for the movie, but either way, it didn't last very long. That was kind of nice, I guess. They didn't force a bunch of like pop music in there. I mean, even the Mario movie did that a few times, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. So that's one Hollywood trope they didn't do. So kudos to that, I guess. Um, but oh yeah, something else that really irked me about the movie. People make fun of like Star Wars all the time. Like I guess the original trilogy. I'm not a big like Star Wars person myself, but I guess in the original trilogy, people will talk about it like the plot armor on like all the main characters, where it's like they're being shot at by what are the bad people called? That's how little I know about Star Wars. The good guys are the Jedi, right? Is it the Sith? I don't think it's the Sith. The I don't know. Whoever it is that's shooting at him. The stormtrooper is it stormtrooper? No, maybe those are good guys. Stormtroopers are good, aren't they? Whoever the bad guys are, and they're shooting their lasers, and like it always just misses them no matter what. It's like that they're just all these running jokes about how like they have terrible aim. And this movie's the same way, where it's like whenever one of the skeletons or whatever is trying to shoot like a flaming bow and arrow at the heroes, it always misses them. Like their accuracy is horrible. But at least in Star Wars, they're like moving around. They're running. They're using their lightsaber to deflect the blasts. But in this, it's like the characters will just be standing still for like 30 seconds or more at a time, with just like all these arrows raining down near them. It's like, move, So with Star Wars, it's like you can kind of, there's so much action and there's so much running around and there's so much moving that it's like it's a little bit more believable that the shots are missing. But when the characters are just standing there, like they might as well just be T-posing, and like all of the shots are missing. It's just like, come on now. And yet there's one that just like perfectly snipes the orb out of the long haired dude's hand, and it's like, okay, you could do that, but none of you guys could shoot this. You could shoot this little tiny orb, but you couldn't shoot this large man who's like dwarfs Jack Black. He's got like this much extra height over Jack Black probably. You couldn't shoot him when he was standing still for like 30 seconds at a time, like twice. um, so yeah, the movie was all over the place, man. To give credit where credit's due. I mean, kids seem to enjoy it. My nephew, and his friend that went to see the movie too, they both loved it. I think they gave it like a 10 out of 10. So, so the kids liked it, and I guess that's kind of your target demographic. But at the same time, it's like, well, is it though? Because like I might not be a big Minecraft fan myself, but like that game's been around since like 2010, right? Um, so that's like 15 years. So if you played that game when it first came out, when it was brand new, you were probably at least like 5. So like at the very least, you would be like 20 years old now. So if you're a longtime Minecraft fan, I don't really think this movie's going to do much for you. Maybe I'm incorrect in assuming that, because again, there were some references where they show like different stuff. They've got like you can see this in the trailer, but they got the water bucket, and Jack demonstrates how you can dump the water at, like they use it to break their fall and stuff. And then at one point, Jack's got I keep saying Jack for Jack Black, but it's Steve. He's got the diamond armor on. He looks so ridiculous when he's got the diamond armor. It's like, man, this just looks so stupid. um, but yeah, so that you had that. You had like of course the pickaxe and a bunch of other weapons from the game. And it is kind of a little neat, I guess, seeing them like they punch a tree a few times and then it breaks away into a little cube, and then they throw the cube and they're building stuff. Although I really feel like they didn't build nearly as much as you would think. Like I thought, like you would kind of think like, oh well, that's how they're gonna defeat like the main enemy at the end. They're gonna build some big ingenious contraption, but that doesn't really happen. Jack just kind of like, or Steve, sorry, just kind of takes her down with his pickaxe and sword. I think anyway. I'll be honest. I had a hard time focusing during some of the more action sequences. Uh, and also, it's a little distracting when you're watching a movie with, a 6-year old and a 7-year old who keep, like, whispering to you and sometimes talking a little too loud, and you got to be like, shh. So I won't say I gave the movie my 100% full undivided attention, but even if I had, I don't think that my impressions would have necessarily gone up that much. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about the Minecraft movie. Again, this went on for a lot longer than I thought it would, but man, did not come away enjoying this movie. I don't think it would be enjoyable if you were drunk. I don't. I don't know. I don't think I would have enjoyed it if I was watching it instead of with kids. If it was like a group of people my age and we were all like laughing and ragging on it, because it's like there's really not even anything to laugh about. Like it's not. It's just bad. Not bad in a fun way, not bad in an endearing way. It's just bad. That's just kind of how I felt about it, just to be completely honest. Again, one thing that kept me engaged is the backgrounds. I really liked the environments. I thought they looked very nice. But that's about it. The writing was atrocious. The acting wasn't very good. Even Jack Black, who I think is a really good actor, either they did all this in like 1 or 2 takes, or the instructions that these people were given was just like way too over the top and unnecessary. Um, it was just it was just a mess. So yeah, with all that said, thank you for listening to my rant about the Minecraft movie. I would probably give it like a 2 out of 10, maybe a 2.5 out of 10 if I want to be generous. Highest I'm willing to go, absolute highest 3 out of 10, but that's being very nice. Um, yeah, it wasn't, if you're morbidly curious about this movie, go out and see it. But maybe I'm in the minority. I don't know. But even if you go into it like I did, expecting like it's going to be stupid, but it'll be funny stupid. It'll be entertaining because it'll be so bad that it's good. At least in my experience, it's really not. That's 90 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back. So, with all that said, thank you guys so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And let me know what your thoughts were on the movie. Did you love it? Did you hate it like me? Do you think this movie is a hidden gem that is getting way too much flack? I don't know what the general consensus is about this movie, but am I giving it way too much flack? Is there something where it's like, no, you're really missing the point? This was so gripping. If you look at it from this perspective, let me know in the comments. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap for this video, so I'll catch you guys next time. And with all that, goodbye.